They got a full safety car.
Safety car, yeah. Beat me to it, yeah.
Do that. Turn that down on the quality.
Look out for anyone on the back straight doing their best Kimi impression, where everyone's weaving and he's just driving,
just chilling. Yeah.
A friend of mine's not really into F1, and she said she came across F1 talk and came across that exact thing, and I was just like, "Oh, that is beautiful." That.
Here's your introduction to Formula One.
Oh, no, not all of that. Here we go.
Piastri celebrating being champion by just not caring and picking up 5 seconds for forcing another driver off the track.
Well, you can do that when you're champion, can't you?
I mean, why would he care? Let's be fair.
Yeah,
he's already won.
That's a Lewis Hamilton move, isn't it? Why is that? No.
Oh, Dan Tatum's on the team radio.
Dan Tatum's complaining about something. Oh, I can't do the thumbnail because it's bigger than 2 meg. Damn it. Oh well, I'll have to leave it and no.
If I was Dan Tatum, I'd be complaining about those blonde highlights in my hair. Bloody hell.
You got those on purpose, Tom.
Did he?
Yeah.
It's got to be a joke.
Yes. It's actually a bet. But we are live, by the way. Don't.
I know. That's why I haven't said anything untoward.
Right,
that's why I've been quiet. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, just like I don't want to incriminate myself.
Welcome to my life.
It does take the mick a bit that Guan Yu Zhou has literally paid his way into an F1 seat, and Oscar Piastri is literally left with nothing for a year.
Oh, is he a paid driver?
Well, Guan Yu Zhou? Yeah, he's paid.
I had no idea.
He's just a tad.
Oh, that's horrible. I mean, that's great. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the way of Formula One. Is what it is.
Yeah, that's F1. Yeah, but we do ultimately need them a bit to survive.
Yeah.
And Alex Brundle sounds so much like his dad.
He does.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I can't wait for FOM to be like, oh, Martin's retired. Do you want to do it as well? As long as they replace Crofty.
They'll have to slowly increase the amount of helium in the commentary box so that it just sounds like just about the same.
Oh, I tell you what I'd love to see. A double Brundle grid walk.
Oh, that would be
that would be nice.
That would be so cool.
That would be such a vibe.
And they've done Le Mans together, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, they
race
have.
together, yeah.
Which is quite nice.
It's like if Schumacher wasn't in the state he was in, I think that's probably what he and Mick would have done. They'd have probably done Race of Champions together or something, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But isn't Schumacher doing a race with Vettel, no?
Instead, yeah. Which I think is really nice.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, because Seb did Race of Champions with Michael, didn't he?
Yeah.
10 years ago now.
Yeah. I'll tell you what we need then. We need Mazepin and Vitaly Petrov to do Race of Champions together. That's what the world needs.
Oh God.
Sorry, guys. I'm just writing these social media posts.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Who did Delena crash into? Was it Ollie Caldwell? I think so.
It was a black and white car. I didn't see who it was.
Yeah, I heard Ollie Caldwell get mentioned, so I think it might be.
Can't see Caldwell on the timing tower.
No.
Let's see what happens when the safety car bit at the top goes in. Yeah, Caldwell's 21st. So it must have been him. Yeah.
It's a shame out. A friend of mine manages Ollie Caldwell.
Really?
Yeah.
That's let's keep him busy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Matt himself raced in GP3 and then went to endurance racing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he raced in GP3 in 2016 against Leclerc and Ocon and Nick de Vries.
Wow.
amongst others.
Oh.
Tom hiding the
I was
secret
there.
links to Formula One drivers.
I was there in 2016 with Matt when he won the feature race in the Hungaroring because De Vries stalled on the formation lap. So they did another formation lap, and Matt then started effectively on pole and won lights the flag.
I'm just googling this.
Matt Parry, you want to Google?
To feature race. Oh, sorry, it was GP3, wasn't he?
Yeah, GP3. Yeah.
Sorry, I've googled GP2. Matt Parry. Oh, there you go.
No, Sam.
Oh, he's famous. He's got his own Wikipedia page.
I know. I helped him update it when I was there.
Oh, we've got another yellow flag.
I haven't yet.
Oh. Piastri really has dragged it in.
Whoa.
I didn't see what happened. I just see
Whoa.
the car stationary.
No, it's that move Piastri put in when they went 3 wide into the back head, into the...
We should get into this F2 watch along thing.
F2 is sensational. Oh, that's the yellow flag.
I haven't seen a replay yet.
Yeah, same.
I've just seen it. I think that's Piastri out, I think.
Yeah, Piastri's just got out of the car in mine.
And Yuri Vips.
That's turn 9 again. I didn't see the feature, the sprint race this morning.
I didn't see it.
I was at work, so I missed it. But this could be quite interesting for tomorrow, because if they're able to go side by side into that long left-hander, it might.
Can we not? Oh.
Right.
I'm actually watching the race at my in-laws tomorrow, so it's I've got to be on my best behaviour.
We're doing a live watch along of the whole race tomorrow.
Oh goodness!
And I said to them, like I said in the Slack channel, I said, if Hamilton wins, I might end up having convenient internet issues.
It's like, we've lost Tom. No.
Yeah, no.
We just need to give him a minute.
Then if Max then overtakes Lewis again, oh, my internet's back.
Right.
Who was the car on the inside there?
No, there was Yuri Vips, Piastri.
Is that Nissani?
And Piastri is such a good driver. Look at that launch he got out of turn. Is it now turn 4?
Yeah, it is Ryan
Yeah.
Nissani.
We good to go.
Piastri's just kind of turned in there and not realised that Nissani's down the inside, I think.
I was going to say, are we good to go?
Yeah.
We've got to talk about F1, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
That one. Who cares?
Okay, if I start recording. Thank you, Zoom. It couldn't have built up any other way. Verstappen takes a convincing pole with an outstanding lap as Hamilton lines up his Mercedes next door with a slightly scruffy one he'll hope to overcome when it really matters. Welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast. Hosting today will be me, Owain Medford, and joining me are Aaron Harper from the 5 Red Lights podcast.
Hello.
F1 writer Olivia Kairu.
Hello.
And Tom Downey from Everything F1.
Hello.
Just before we get into the main show, I would just like to shout out some of the 5-star reviews we've got. We've got Alcoholic Savage, who says that always looks forward to hearing our guys our take on the race. Great balance between humour and being informative. Thank you for that. We've got Chess34, who's from the US and has started watching F1 this year. I promise it stays fairly interesting, but it won't ever hit the heights of this year. But thank you for coming to us after each race. And Hams asked, who's been an F1 fan for 20 years, but between Netflix and this podcast, is grateful F1 becoming more and more popular amongst his friends. So, please send your friends our way. And if you want to get shouted out at the top of our show, take 5 to give us 5 and give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and we'll shout you out at the start of the show. So today we'll be giving our analysis and reaction to qualifying for the finale, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We're now streaming the live show, live on YouTube if you're listening after the fact. So be sure to like our Facebook page, follow our Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Formula One Grid Talk. Then ring the bell icon so you're notified of future shows when we go live. Well, I'll start with you, Tom, because you're a sort of heart on your sleeve Max Verstappen fan. It's a really good lap from Max there. Absolutely brilliant. How can you keep the Mercedes behind going into the last race, and how can you sort of deal with the pressure, I guess, of being, behind in front of a 7-time world champion going into your final race?
You say I wear my heart on my sleeve when I'm a Verstappen fan. I don't know what you mean.
Sorry, have I got the wrong person?
yeah. Sorry. No. Oh God, how's he going to deal with Hamilton behind him? You would tomorrow, right? We're going to expect probably Verstappen to have a better launch because he's on the soft tire. But he's going to really have to make sure that he can sort of manage that gap between him and Hamilton and not burn through his softs too quickly. Obviously, the track will get cooler again as we go later into the night. But the pit stop strategy, how well Perez can sort of handle Hamilton, how well Max can eke out his tyres, all the rest of it, it's going to be big. And you know that Lewis is going to be closing up, then backing off, recharging his battery, cooling down his tyres for a lap, and then coming back at him. And yeah, the pressure on both of them. But I think especially for Verstappen, now that he starts on pole, because effectively it is his to lose tomorrow, because he, without trying to make a really bad pun, he is in pole position to lead into turn one. And that's not me trying to be funny. I just don't know the best way to phrase it. I promise. But you would expect Max to get the better launch tomorrow. He's on the right side of the grid, arguably. And obviously he is ahead of Hamilton on a softer tyre, like I said. There's going to be so much pressure on him tomorrow. And I just hope that it doesn't boil over like we saw last week.
Yeah, would nice to be a nice clean fight. We'll go to you, Olivia. Lewis Hamilton, not a great lap, his first lap, and didn't improve on his second by anywhere near enough. What can he do tomorrow to basically, obviously the level on points. What can he do to overcome Max and take the title?
Well, I guess just have a good start and get a good launch off when lights go out, because already he has tires on his side. He has medium tires, so he's going to be going longer. We assume he's going to be going longer. So just to make sure he gets ahead of Max in like the first corner, which apparently it's been a tricky one for drivers with, well, we were seeing in the qualifying session, but I don't know, like the only thing that he can do right now is just try and get ahead of Max because he has a leg up on him with tires. So, and I don't know how it's going to pan out with the 2-stop strategy, but either way, it seems like it's good for him. He's going to be good to go. Yeah.
It's kind of it's obviously a 2-stop, but that's what we're looking at. I'm going to kind of stick on the Hamilton and Verstappen thing, basically, because it's sort of taken all the gravity. It's a massive sort of gravity shift, and it's what everyone's talking about with you, Aaron. Verstappen now has 10 pole positions to Hamilton's 5, but the race wins us, and obviously, as has been sort of well publicised, bearing in mind the way that the championship could play out, is 9-8. Do you think that will be a help to Hamilton, particularly again with the tyres and the better launches that Mercedes seem to get going into this first corner and the first phase of the race?
Yeah, I think Lewis is probably not where he expected to be, but he's going to relish being the hunter tomorrow. He has got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So considering his strategy and the fact that he has come through in recent races to defeat Verstappen in Brazil, where he came past everybody, and in Jeddah as well, after all the shenanigans that were going on there, he will feel maybe not like he has a massive edge on Verstappen mentally, but he knows that he can get the job done. He's got the car to do it, and he is the driver to do it. But it's going to be tough because Max is going to defend his position as ferociously as he possibly can. And we know exactly how far he will go. I don't think he'll cause a collision because they both know that the FIA are looking at it really closely, and any collision is going to be probably dealt with a more severe penalty than normal, because it would be perhaps a deterrent for anyone else thinking about it in the future if you want to drive this way, and then leave it open to interpretation about a collision and who's at fault in the final race. But it's going to be so exciting. There's going to be so much hinging on the start, and then once that settles down, there's so much strategy involved. It could be a 2-stop. It could also be a 1-stop. Lewis could 1-stop this race and go through to the end. We don't know how well they're going to be able to overtake, if they're going to be able to follow. Are the tyres going to overheat? Who knows? There's just so many questions that need answering tomorrow. And obviously the big one is who's going to be world champion.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of that's it. That's we're only going to find out the proof is in the proof is in the pudding here when it comes to it. Behind, it's not ideal actually for either team. Tom, when you've got Lando Norris, who put in, let's not take anything away from him here, an absolutely brilliant lap to take third, and you've got the other, the teammates of the two title rivals, really quite far behind.
Yeah, it was a storming lap by Lando to take P3, and somewhat unexpected given he only just made it into Q3 itself. And in Lando's post-quali interview, he said he's just going to sit back and let the action unfold in front of him. I think that's quite sensible, because it's not worth potentially ruining his race for him to get tangled up in something to do with them, and then there potentially be an incident that he gets caught up in, or potentially causes, or what have you. So it's Lando's just gonna run his own race. I suspect he may end up having a bit of a quiet race, but then he could have Perez coming past him at the starts. Perez gets a good launch because Perez is only P4, whereas Bottas is all the way back in P6. So in terms of the sort of wider strategy game there, having Perez P4, if Red Bull can get in P3 straight away at the start, just have him sort of keeping tabs on Hamilton, if you like. Red Bull are going to sacrifice Perez. They did it in qualifying, but Perez has openly said that's what he's there to do, and he doesn't mind doing it because Verstappen is another league. Verstappen and Hamilton are another league from the other drivers on the field at the moment. And then Bottas, he's either going to get a decent start and all the rest of it, or he's just going to get caught in about P6, P7. And he's just going to poot around in his final race for Mercedes, and then come home. Although I've just thought it could be big for the constructors if Bottas gets caught in a melee, and if Max wins and Perez then comes third, and Mercedes gets second and sixth, it could swing the constructors either way. Let's not forget about that this weekend. You're muted.
I'm an idiot, is what I am. It's a big possibility you mentioned. As Thomas said, Sergio Perez in fourth. Lando Norris obviously has his own race to run, particularly with the battle for Ferrari in his McLaren. Do you think he's going to fight Perez too much, or do you reckon he'll sort of side with his compatriot, with the the person the team that is providing the McLaren's engines, and put up a bit more of a fight against Perez in the start, Olivia?
No, I don't think he's going to put up a fight, but just like he said, if there's an opportunity, he's going to take it, but only if he knows that he won't compromise himself or the title championship in any way. Just like he said again, he is in a race for fifth in the Drivers' Championship, so I don't think he has much business putting himself there, or I don't think his car will have the pace long term to get himself in the running for in between Hamilton and Verstappen, or even just in between Red Bull and Mercedes. So I think he's going to run a clean race. Hopefully he will, but I don't think he has any business compromising himself in any way with Mercedes, if that answers the question.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's a decent number of positions against the. He's still first, but he's starting in 7th place. As Charles Leclerc is his championship rival, and he's only 4 points away. Yeah, we've got Sergio Perez. Bearing in mind, it didn't work out so well, I believe, on getting the tyres. I've completely blanked what he qualified on in Q2. But bearing in mind the amount of running that Red Bull were doing on the medium in practice 3, Aaron, do you think that's maybe sort of it's a bad question, but do you think that's throwing a spanner in the works almost?
Well, Perez will start on the softs, and I think Red Bull will want him to be really aggressive and really attacking. And if you're going to sort of give anyone a raw deal on tyres, you want to give it to Sergio Perez, because he can make lemonade out of lemons with them. So it'll be interesting to see. He's got to dispose of Norris pretty quickly, otherwise there's going to be a gap and he's not going to be able to fill it. And that's going to open the door for Hamilton to strategize his way past Verstappen and snatch the title. So it does help, the fact that Sergio is good on the tyres and he's on the soft tyres. So he could get a good launch. If he can get into 3rd place, then Red Bull have a really good opportunity to corner Hamilton and secure the title for Verstappen. But it does hinge on how well Checo can get past Norris in 3rd. And perhaps, given that it's Sergio, they might be able to one stop and go soft medium. That might be a tough ask even for Sergio, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, this track is a little bit faster than it is, quite a lot, faster than it used to be, but there's still the opportunity. The bulk of the track is still the same. They're still about to cool your tyres and look after them, and just maybe take a slightly slower route, but one that's going to do you better in the long run. Now, we talked about the Ferraris. Ferraris have seemed fairly quick, and obviously they're putting in fast lap times, given sort of Q1 and Q2. It's the 5th place for Carlos Sainz. Is that a little disappointing, particularly when Lando is in 3rd, Tom?
I'm also muted. Yeah, sorry, who did you say? Carlos Sainz, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Just saw a video of Lando hugging his moment. It's really wholesome. Yeah, no, Ferrari had a really interesting qualifying. Did anybody else notice they went out in Q1 on the mediums to begin with?
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, I was sitting there in the kitchen and I was thinking, what on earth are they doing? It's just like, it's just a bizarre option, because for most teams, unless you're Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo, or Aston Martin, Q1 is the throwaway session where you just go through the motions to get through to Q2. So I don't really get why they burnt up a set of tyres, unless they were saving a set for the race. But they then had to use a set of softs anyway to make sure they got through. So it was just pointless. But Ferrari. I mean, Sainz in general, he's been neck and neck with Leclerc all year. I think Sainz has arguably been the more consistent driver, and I can feel the pitchforks coming out again. But yeah, P5 in that Ferrari. He was the last driver into the 122s, because I think Bottas did a 123.1 or 123.0. So decent lap from Sainz, obviously 8 tenths back from the field, but that Ferrari is not a Red Bull. But it was a good lap from Sainz. if Lando gets overtaken by Perez, which I do probably see happening, I reckon Sainz and Lando could be in for a fairly decent scrap for the race. And then, you know, if something happens in front of them, they could potentially take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's a shame we probably won't see it. We'll probably be treated to the TV director's view of things, which won't be that. It'll be the title fight, no matter how boring that ends up being. After that, right? He said that obviously he's saying that you know, the Ferrari is not a Red Bull. The thing about the starts is that the Red Bull is not a Mercedes. Bearing in mind, Valtteri Bottas is starting in 6th place, obviously not ideal, but he's starting directly behind. He's starting directly behind Sergio Perez, Olivia. Could he maybe get a really good run and maybe fight it up with Sergio Perez, maybe prevent him interfering in the title fight ahead?
Bottas, you mean?
Yes, yeah. He's starting directly behind. He's at 16 meters, and that's a fairly good run if you hook it up.
Yeah, I think he could, but then you also have I from what I think, Perez will probably get in front of Norris quite fast, and then Norris is now in the back with Sainz, so they're scrapping for to get ahead. So Bottas needs to clear them really fast, which is not ideal for him. So I think it's going to be hard for him to do. So I really don't know what's going to happen with Bottas. Obviously, yes, the Ferrari is not a Mercedes, but it's not ideal having a McLaren, a Ferrari, and then Bottas behind both of them. So I think he did it in for himself being in P6. So I don't know. It's a hard one. It's a toughie. It sucks for him though. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough race. It's not great for Bottas, and if we look at the form book, him being down in 6th doesn't necessarily let him go that much further forward. After that, we've got Charles Leclerc. Not a great qualifying session, but sort of where you think you feel like that was where the pace with the car was, Aaron. Do you think he can? Is there scope for him to go forwards, or is it going to be a long afternoon? Oh, I'm not sure if Aaron is there. Can I throw that to you? I was going to say, can I throw that to you, Tom?
Yeah, what was the question? Sorry.
Bearing in mind, just Leclerc is, he's a little bit further back than maybe you'd expect him to be. Probably owing to Valtteri Bottas being, again further back than you expect him to be. Do you think he can sort of mix it up and get back on terms and up into better points paying positions?
Leclerc possibly. He is a very, very good driver. So I would say that there is a good chance that Leclerc will be able to have a good battle with those around him. I just hope that the likes of himself, the Red Bull cynic in me wants Bottas to get caught up in this. The sort of like midfield bunching that's no doubt going to happen. Whether he can sort of get up into sort of like P5, P4, I'm not sure. If he starts scrapping with Sainz, and then if Sainz is already in a battle with Norris, if Ferrari perhaps see that Leclerc's got better pace, they might say to Sainz, move over and let Charlie Boy through. Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see that, because although there is no defined number one at Ferrari, Leclerc is it seems like there's an unspoken rule that Leclerc is number one, which he's come through the academy. He's been there longer. You can kind of understand. So I think if he is going to do it, he will need a bit of Ferrari support. But I hope that Ferrari don't sacrifice Carlos Sainz for Charles Leclerc tomorrow, because it's probably not going to make an awful lot of difference to anything in the long run.
Yeah, that's a good point you make. It's kind of all sort of locked up at the front. It's certain positions in the constructors, and that's unfortunately one of them. Aaron, we had to skip you there. Obviously, you had connection issues, but that's fine. Don't worry about it. But we've got Yuki Sonoda next. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy session with a couple of lap time deletions, I seem to remember. Do you think Yuki's kind of getting comfortable and a bit sort of a bit racier?
Yeah, he's getting there. It wouldn't be a Yuki Tsunoda qualifying session without some track limit infringements. So obviously taking heed from his mentor at AlphaTauri and Alex Albon, who also loved a track limits excursion. But yeah, that was actually a really good qualifying session for Sonoda, because Gasly's been a bit of a supremo in quali this year, regularly in the top 6. So for Yuki, who's had wildly varied qualifying sessions where he's sometimes thrown it in the hedge and brought out red flags, or just simply not had the pace, it demonstrates that he's learning. The improvement is there. The curve is good, and he's following it. He's gone from being the guy who gets knocked out along with the 2 Haas boys, and Alpha, or both of them, and a Williams, to solidly being coming through into Q2, and now regularly securing a place in Q3. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he's made Q3 at pretty much every race since Austin, bar maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, he's been really consistent in the flyaway races.
Yeah, he started really banging in those qualifying laps, and I can't remember if it was Brundle who said it on the Sky. I think he was talking about Sonoda as well, that you can bring that racecraft into your weaponry, but if you don't have the sheer speed, then you're just never going to get it. So the signs are good for Yuki, actually, the fact that he's got the raw speed, and he just needs to hone his skills a little bit more, which may be part and parcel of the fact that he was arguably promoted a year too soon into the AlphaTauri. But the fact that he's now developing into this very solid driver is proof that he's learning and gaining that experience, which is going to take him forward.
Yeah, it's almost I don't want to besmirch the Red Bull driver program, but it seems that they do that quite a lot, is promote people a year too early and then hone the racecraft later. I think that's been seen numerous times throughout the years. Someone who didn't have that luxury really was Esteban Ocon. It's not been, it's kind of not been the best season sort of for Alpine, a bit up and down. No one's really got an idea of the form book for them. But bearing in mind, he's taken 9th place. After last week, you'd expect him to be sort of thinking he could get forward, Olivia, and maybe take just prey on some of the less experienced drivers up front.
Yeah, no, it's really hard to know where Alpine will land. It could be at the top, could be at the bottom. But with Ocon this season, you kind of feel that he's the guy who will be there at the right place at the right time. So maybe that will carry on into this race as well, like last time when he almost had a P3. But yeah, he has been lucky, especially given that it's so hard to tell where Alpine is going to end up. And he's had quite good pace this weekend, especially in yesterday, splitting the Mercedes 1-2 in practice. So he definitely could have a good race tomorrow, but it is quite hard to see where he could land, especially because I expected him to be a bit up there in qualifying. So P9 is kind of disappointing, expected kind of like a P6 or something. But yeah, I don't know. He definitely could be up there, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Someone who should be up there but isn't is Daniel Ricciardo, Tom. He's down in 10th place, and bearing in mind that his teammate is on the second row. Sorry, that's how can he get himself out of this pretty dire situation at this point?
I don't really know. We thought we had a bit of a resurgence of Danny Rick earlier this year, and he did have a good win in Monza. And there was that sort of period around, it was around what I'd say Spa up until Mexico, maybe, where he sort of seems to be doing all right, and he was getting good results. He had a good result in Austin, but since then, or since around about then, he has he's just sort of like fallen back down. He's at least made it into Q3, which he has failed to do on more occasions than he should have done this year, especially when his teammate has quite often been P5, P6, P4. Lando's, he put it on pole in Russia, for example, And he's P3 today. Lando was P2 in was it Imola? I think he was P2 in qualifying, or maybe P3, or was on course and their lap time deleted or something. The point is, I'm not really sure what else not Red Bull, what McLaren can do for Danny Rick. They've supported him and tried to help him. We know that he takes time to adjust to a car. It took him over a year to adjust to that Renault. It's something to do with the way he brakes and his braking style and the way he drives the car through the corner. It seems to take him a long time to bed into an actual car. So hopefully next year, also we've got new regulations as well, massive technical regulation change. Hopefully he can sort of get settled more into that car and support his teammate. Because I said it, I think, last week or the week before. If he would have been in Q3 more often and been in better point scoring options more often this year, McLaren would still be P3 in the constructors. But because he's been so inconsistent, even with a race win, because he's been so inconsistent, that's why McLaren are effectively losing P3 in the constructors to Ferrari.
Yeah, it's a pretty damning assessment, but I don't think you're wrong. It's unfortunately.
I'm never wrong.
Unfortunately, his qualifying pace in McLaren this year has been a bit of a thorn in their side. And hopefully next year, obviously with the big regulation change, you hope that maybe suits him more and he doesn't have to do so much work to get on terms with it, and maybe can bring them back up and be a proper partner to Lando up there. We then got Fernando Alonso, who was the first out in, obviously first out of the runners who went out in Q2, and you kind of feel like maybe he should have sort of been in the mid pack and maybe stole a slipstream or something like that. Because bear in mind, it's not too far from his teammate, but we expect better from Lando. We expect better from Fernando, don't we, Aaron?
Well, I think this is all part of his Abu Dhabi L plan. So qualify 11th, pick your tyres, and swamp through the field from there. It really frustrates me with Alpine. Like on a Friday, they can show some really good pace. Ocon was up in P2. I think Alonso was in the top 5 yesterday in P2. So for them to only end up 9th and 11th is really frustrating. Now, I don't know whether it's they just go backwards a bit or the others come forward or a little bit of both. But it is annoying because you've got 2 drivers there who could do so well, but they end up kind of nowhere in the end. But as I said at the start, Alonso has the option of tyre choice. So he'll probably start on the mediums, or expect him to start on the softs as well, because we know what he's like on the opening lap. If there's anyone going to pull a move, it'll be Fernando. So his strategy will be quite interesting to see how he comes through the field from there. He should be expecting some points tomorrow.
Yeah, to steal some words from Mr. Spice a whole bunch of years ago now, Fernando, because he's so consistent, will probably end up on the podium. Right after that, we've got someone who's been on the podium fairly recently. Is Pierre Gasly. It's an uncharacteristically poor performance, isn't it, Olivia, from Gasly there?
Yeah, it really is. P12, that's a whole 6 down from where he usually is. He's usually top 6 in qualifying. So it was quite shocking, especially to see Sonoda, his teammate, far up there and him out at in Q2. It didn't make sense. But I don't know. It's quite an underwhelming performance from him. So I really don't know what to expect from him. I think he will shoot up in the grid as the race goes along, but he has seemed to have an off weekend. Yesterday he was good, but there's still some you still have doubts with how this weekend could go for him, especially with the P12. That's very odd. So I don't know how it could go. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of up in the air. Luckily, the thing for Pierre Gasly is that he can usually make it go forward rather than backwards. Tom, we've got Lance Stroll next. You kind of it's where the Aston Martin has unfortunately ended up. Is there anything left? You know, is this just like the next couple of hours that they have of running a test session for Aston Martin, or is there anything that they can maybe do? Is it glory run time?
Is it even a glory run, or is it just they drive around because they're contractually obliged to, and Daddy will not give him any pocket money if he doesn't? Yeah, I went there. Yeah, Stroll. I forgot about him. Last week I think I described him as a tree, sort of just exists. But it's really nondescript. He did actually have a good race last week or the week before in Qatar. One of them he did all right, but yeah, it's just Aston, just in general, just promised so much after the results of last year and then delivered so little. Stroll, I doubt we're getting the points. I'm not expecting much from him. He's just going to drive round. You know, they might. If I was Aston, if I realised that they weren't going to get any points or anything, I'd probably even just say just retire the car. You know, just call it quits from here. What's the point in carrying on? And yeah, I don't have an awful lot to add about Stroll. He's sort of just there. You know, he's just going to be there. He's going to drive around in a green car. Maybe finish the race, probably get laps. At least he doesn't bicker with Brad anymore on the team radio. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah, it's they've been kind of anonymous, apart from that time in Monaco, where they were less than anonymous, and we're all still reeling from it. Aaron, we've got Italian Jesus next. 14th place. That's actually not bad, but it's kind of where they've settled into, isn't it, as a team?
Yeah, he's beaten both the Williams and the Aston Martin of Sebastian Vettel, and he's outperformed Kimi Raikkonen. But unfortunately for him, the replacement for him in that seat next season has just won the F2 race. So it doesn't look so good for Gio now, does it? Because he's done pretty much what that car should be doing. It's not a great car, but I had a thought earlier, and I'd like to get some other opinions on this. If Giovinazzi had consistently been qualifying around here, sort of 14th, 13th, 15th, for the majority of the season, as well as having those more sparkly performances like he had in Monza and a couple of other places where he popped it into Q3, would he have held on to his seat, or would he still be out the door? Because this is the sort of performance that you go, well, he could definitely still do a job, but obviously he's not doing that job regularly enough to warrant being kept on. And Alpha have decided to take the Chinese money in Guan Yu Zhou. What does everyone else think on that?
If Gio had 2 years of qualifying, sort of like you said, P14, regularly getting out of Q and getting into Q2 with the odd Q2 appearance, and then if he had a race day like he did in Monaco, for example, where he put that car P10, he had a decent race day in Zandvoort. Got unlucky with getting punted off, and then also, like you mentioned, in Monza, he had a really good race day that day. If he could have had 2 years or at least a year and a half of consistent results like that, because the Sauber in last year and this year has not been great, like you said, I think possibly, yeah. But I think even if he would have had like a year of mainly good results this year, I don't think it would have been enough. And I think Alfa Romeo would have still taken Bottas to replace Kimi, because we know in F1 they'd have to replace a fin with a fin. And also, Bottas brings that experience, and Alfa Romeo only have to look at Haas and say, well, if we have 2 relatively inexperienced drivers, albeit not full rookies, because Gio is in his 3rd season of F1, but someone like Bottas, who has been in the sport for the best part of a decade, has spent going to be 100 races tomorrow alongside the 7-time world champion and one of the greatest drivers the sport has ever seen, you're going to take that experience over Gio, who has done an all right job. And then it seemed like Sauber or Alfa Romeo or whatever they're going to be called, they're going to take the money. You know, we joked about it in the pre-show, but F1 does need some form of pay driver to survive, and unfortunately, we do see it up the grid. I'm not saying that pay drivers are a bad thing, and that's a whole separate conversation. But I think Alpha would have taken the money regardless, and Gio would have still been out the door.
Olivia, do you have anything to add?
No, not really. I'm in agreement with both Tom and Aaron, but I think he may do an Albon because the situation kind of seems kind of similar between the two of them. So he, after Formula E, I feel like he could come back. I don't know where he would be coming back, but he could, or it's the same as Ocon. Maybe he'll come back and do better. We don't know. But yeah, I don't think there was any chance of him staying within Alfa Romeo if Bottas was seatless and they needed someone to take over. So no.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the thing the other thing I'll add is that, you know, Charles Leclerc sparkled in that seat and got himself to a Ferrari drive. Gio hasn't. He seems to me in a similar driver to sort of Kazuki Nakajima or Kobayashi, where sometimes they can pull out some really amazing performances, but it might be better that it might be that he's better suited out of Formula One to the top tier of another area of motorsport. You know, where he can really shine. Those two drivers went on to do incredible things with Toyota. Maybe he can do incredible things in Formula E or in other areas of and other areas in motorsport, because I'm sure there are loads of places that would love to have a fairly decent, consistent enough F1 driver on their payroll. Speaking of decent enough, fairly consistent F1 drivers, we've got Sebastian Vettel. Obviously, he's a 4-time world champion, but unfortunately, those days are long gone. Tom, it's kind of, you know, obviously he's done decently enough, but again, it's similar to Stroll in that it's a transition year here, isn't it?
Yeah, and we know that Aston Martin are building for the future. You know, they've got this massive factory which is up and coming, but it's just you know, Vettel is, ever since he left Red Bull, he has just not been the same. And it was ever since the turbo hybrid era. Because in 2014, when Danny Rick came alongside him in Red Bull and started to sort of almost show him up a bit, he's just not quite been the same. He had some good results at Ferrari. You know, 2018, he was in the fight for the title. He probably should have won it that year. But it was all sort of masking what has been a sort of steady decline for him almost. And now that he's at Aston, he has had two podiums this year. But I think all that's doing, that's not a true representation of how the season's been. And he's just not, he just doesn't seem to cope as well with these sort of, you know, with these bigger cars and all the rest of it. Like we said, Aston are developing for 2022. They are, you know, and like we said, new regulations, all the rest of it. So maybe next year will be different. But at the minute, Vettel, you have to ask some serious questions, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the car's holding him back, but how much is it holding him back? And unfortunately, you can feel like the idea might be not by much. It sort of doesn't matter, Olivia, in some ways with how. With how obviously things are going to play out fairly soon for his teammate, but Nicholas Latifi has outqualified George Russell. That's kind of big, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I didn't even realize it until now. It was such a slip under the rug kind of thing. But again, with Latifi, just like with Lance Stroll, there's not much you can say. Obviously, you do wish that he could have done more with this season. qualifying up in Q2 more often, but this is big for him. This is like the second time, no? But I don't know. In Canadian fashion, it seems kind of both him and Stroll are kind of they're very quiet and very, I don't want to say boring because that's not nice. But they do seem to just fizzle out and become afterthoughts. But this is good for him. So hopefully he can stick with the 16 and keep going ahead. But I don't think so, because Raikkonen's behind him and so is Russell. So he could lose it. But there isn't much to say about the TV, really. It's good for him, though.
Yeah, hopefully it helps his confidence going into the next season, and Williams have done a decent job on next year's car. Aaron, we've got George Russell next, and if it doesn't matter for Nicholas Latifi, basically doesn't matter for him either. He's done everything he needs to do for Williams, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's probably jumped out of that Williams and gone, God, so glad I don't have to drive that next year. Can't wait to get in the Merc. So it was one of those days for Williams. They didn't have the pace. They weren't going to get out of Q1. Although George was on a lap, I think, towards the end, wasn't he? He hadn't taken the flag.
I believe he had to bail. I'm not sure why, though.
Yeah, because they said he was on a lap and then he didn't complete it. So he may have made a mistake. Might be worth going back through the footage. So they're not really going to score points unless we have the craziest Abu Dhabi Grand Prix ever. Just it'll be a little bit of a tour around Abu Dhabi and sightseeing for Nicholas and George. You know, waving to each other for the final time in the same car. You know, and then at the end they'll all just sort of wave George down the pit lane to Mercedes, and George will happily skip down there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's been like a long time coming for George, but he's sort of done his years, and he's done his years in the bad car, and unfortunately, and he gets his reward hopefully next year, assuming Mercedes done a good job, which you kind of ominously feel like they probably have. I'd like to say that Kimi sort of would be up there, and he'd be doing really great in like 12th place, or even just taking the car up to maybe like a really surprise 6th. But do you think Kimi's checked out, Tom?
I think Kimi checked out about 6 months ago. I mean, he's qualified P18. He doesn't care. He's just seeing out the season. I mean, I think we'd seen it. I think we saw it at a point last year, and this is why I'm surprised that he sort of lasted as long as he did in F1 before he actually decided to leave. He's been mentally checked out of F1 for
probably 3 years.
Yeah. I nearly did a boîte then as well when I was thinking. I noticed that. Ever since he left Ferrari, I mean, it's like when he got asked why he was going back to Sauber, and he shrugged, laughed, and said, "Why not?" I think that was it. Then obviously the now famous Strider's Right Pit, where he said it's more like a hobby to me. It's just like I think we got our answer for how he feels about it. So he's just going to trundle around, much like Stroll and the others, like they're contractually obliged to try not to wipe anybody out, trying to get wiped out. I wonder if he might do a Jensen, just have a DNF and just get absolutely hammered.
I mean, to be fair, I've seen. I know that Kimi, in 2013, obviously when he wasn't paid, unfortunately, for when he was at Lotus, went out on the first lap, parked it, went off. He was gone before the race had even hit the first pit stop, I think.
I'd tell you something I thought of earlier as well. Because when I saw that Kimi was knocked down Q1, I thought to myself, if he gets, if he has a DNF or whatever, I thought, is he going to jump out of his car and just go to? I bet he's got a yacht or a boat there somewhere. Do you think he's just going to redo a Monaco 2004 I think it was, when he just got out and buggered off to a boat. If I was him, I probably would. I'd just be like, cool, what are you going to do? Sack me? I'm off anyway. Toodles. And just, just go and crack open the champers and crack on.
He might do. He was sunbathing then, I seem to remember, but I don't think he'll be able to at this time of year for it. But yeah, no. Well, I think it was quite telling when, in obviously, if you're on the Sky Sports coverage, you might have seen Kimi Raikkonen being interviewed by Martin Brundle, having what looked like a lot more fun in some sand dunes, and he's just like, I like the driving, but I hate everything else. And you get the feeling he's done. He's done now.
He can't wait to get to the Amber Lounge.
Yeah. Do you reckon he'll have the jet going? Like he'll have the private jet like running, but at the start,
drive the car straight onto it, won't he?
Yeah. It'd be like a really weird version of the Italian job. Right, we've got the Haas. Does anyone want to talk about that? Anyone?
Where's Phil when we need him?
Yeah, where's Phil?
Yeah.
I'll take the Haas because that's what else are they supposed to do? Like Tom said about Stroll and Raikkonen, they're contractually obligated to turn up, and if anyone needs to turn up, it's them because they need the money. I mean, they couldn't even afford to put Gene Haas in the team photo. They had to Photoshop him in on Gunther Steiner's body, which was
just embarrassing.
Just a bit weird in it as well.
It was really bizarre.
Bearing in mind, Gene Haas is rumoured to not even want to really be putting any more money in. He's already not right. Haas Automation makes CNC machines. They're already not using Haas Automation CNC machines to build the car.
As if it couldn't get any worse for them.
It's like you don't even get do they not do mates rates?
Apparently not. I mean, love him or loathe him, if Dimitri Mazepin takes over that team, at least he's got some dollars to put behind it. Just really hope he doesn't partner up with that bearded bloke whose name we won't mention.
That bearded bloke might actually get some money at that point.
Oh, don't even tempt fate.
Let's not touch it because Tom might rant again.
Yeah, and I haven't got enough time.
Yeah, I mean, back to the stuff on track. You can't expect Schumacher and Mazepin to be doing much more than they are. But in fairness, Mick Schumacher was 0.2 of a second, give or take, behind Raikkonen and about half a second off of George Russell. So that is actually a really good performance, all things considered.
Yeah, it's a good takeaway. Let's not talk about Mazepin because he is way further behind.
Yeah, well, what else is there to say? You know, he's I'm going to run out. He's a piss poor driver in a piss poor car, and that's the crux of it. So he's the only driver this season to not get out at Q1. Even Schumacher got out at Q1. And I know I said a few weeks ago, it's time to lay off Mazepin. Yeah, it is. He says he's going in on him. But it's just like, it's just, I mean, where do you even start? It's just like, he's had a torrid year. You know, he's not, he's, with all the spins and everything, although he did seem to stop doing that. And I'm not saying Schumacher's been innocent by any stretch, but it's just like, the car's been awful. He's made some more than questionable racing decisions on track, and that's what I still have an issue with. So hopefully he can grow up a bit and realise that he's not untouchable, because he sort of has this air of invincibility about him. And I'm not just saying it. I think it is because his father is so wealthy that he thinks he can just do something and get away with it and just pay whoever off. And that's not the kind of driver we need in Formula One, regardless of how much money they bring.
Maybe we should give him the benefit of the doubt for the next season. Hopefully he will put in the work and be smart about it going into the next season with hopefully a better car. But I still do agree with you. He does have an air of arrogance and invincibility about him that he does need to work on. So
yeah,
I don't know what he can do.
No, I do agree with you, Olivia. I would rather see Mazepin somewhat succeed. I'm not saying he's going to turn into a world champion or anything like that, because he's realistically he's not. But when he comes out with statements like, I'm just waiting for an offer from a bigger team, I'm sitting there going, really? There's that sort of like level of sort of like self-entitled
Arrogance.
worth about him, or sort of arrogance. And I do want to give him the benefit of the doubt a bit, because the car this year has been absolutely torrid for them. Haas have just had an awful season, which you knew they were going to have. But that doesn't excuse you trying to shove your teammate into the pit wall on two specific different occasions, one of which in Baku, that could have been an airplane crash.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they can stamp that kind of thing out.
I think the only thing, the most positive thing you can probably say about Mazepin is that you can learn not to do that. You can't learn speed, and he at least does have some speed to sort of start with. So if he can get rid of some of the more ludicrous stuff, hopefully they can have a better year. Using an actual car that's designed for the year's regulations it's actually using. Right. We now move on to predictions, which Tom and I have been through this. But I mean, I'd like to talk about anything other than the title championship. But as I've said, the kind of, I'd call it media gravity of the situation is unfortunately going to pull us towards that. So I'll start with you, Aaron. What's your prediction for the championship?
It's so hard. Like, my heart so much wants Hamilton to do it. 8 titles, and then, like, not that I would ever want him to not win. I can then sort of park him and my fandom of Lewis to one side and be like, yay, George Russell, Lando Norris.
Once he's got over that record, then it sort of matters less.
I did not like Schumacher when I was growing up. I was very anti Schumacher, so it would be a bit of a one up for me on that respect. But it's so hard to see which way this is going to go. There are so many ways it could turn out tomorrow. Verstappen could run off into the distance and Hamilton won't have an answer, or Verstappen could try that and run out of tyres. They might collide. They might not collide. Norris might jump the pair of them at the start if they're too busy covering each other and then disappear. Literally anything could happen. I'm gonna go with my heart and go with Lewis for the victory and the World Championship.
Okay, Olivia. What are you thinking?
I honestly don't know. Going into qualifying, when Verstappen had P1, I didn't know how to feel. So I really don't know how to feel about who could take the championship, because if Verstappen takes it, I'd be happy with it. But if Hamilton did it, I'd also be happy with it. So I don't know how to feel about things. Considering that I've been a Verstappen fan for a while, the way the season's gone has left me very... I don't know how to feel about anything, really. So I can't give my opinion now because I don't know. I'll be impartial.
Yeah, I feel like this is the same for everyone. You don't know what it's more hope than predicts.
Yeah.
Tom, has anything you've seen change your opinion on what's going to happen? Or I doubt it will. Don't worry. But
what are you asking? What I think will happen, or what I want to happen?
Let's go with
both.
What we'll think.
What I think will happen. I think Max is going to get the better launch. Lewis is going to go long on the mediums. They're going to try and force strategy. I don't think Bottas is going to be in contention to help. And I think between Max and Perez, they'll do enough for Max to win.
That's fair enough.
He says.
Yeah. We don't know. No one knows.
Exactly. We don't know this. I'm so tense. It's looking at my window behind me. It's going dark. It's just like the sun is setting on today already, even though it's only 4:05. And it's like tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow, regardless of who wins, history is going to be made in Formula One. And I cannot wait.
yeah, I guess the only person it's good for right now is Liberty Media. I hope you're making your mega bucks, because I know a lot of people are tuning in when they wouldn't have already. I'll just round things off. My prediction is I think Lewis will have tyre strategy. I think the Mercedes starts faster at the first phase of the start. I think he can probably throw it up the inside. Where at turn one, I think bearing in mind the way that everything has been policed thus far, I don't think Verstappen will be able to pull the same kinds of moves. Things are different now. This is the last race of the season. But then again, he might rise to it. I genuinely, Lewis Hamilton has had pressure put on him until the last quarter of the last race in seasons before, and but never like this, never level on points. But I think that mental fortitude might just have the edge. But I'd be intrigued to be proved wrong. Do we have any bold predictions just for the rest of the grid? I'm going to skip the bottom two steps of the podium because it kind of doesn't matter, does it?
Kimi podium.
I'll take it.
That's bold, because we're expecting him to not be at the end of the race and to already be on the plane or in the bar.
Probably in the bar.
Probably
On the plane.
Yep, plane bar.
Olivia, any bold predictions?
Ocon's going to be up there on Ocon podium as well.
Oh.
Tom, anything?
Red Bull beat Mercedes to the constructors.
Oh, that is quite bold. I don't think it's going to happen, but
yeah.
But that's well within the realms of possibility.
Because Bottas is going to be shit.
Yeah.
How about that?
Bottas to win. I'm going to go with that.
That's bold.
Yeah.
That's not bold. That's just dull. Because if Bottas is even in contention for a win, they'll say, "Nah, go on, bugger off. This is for Hamilton."
Yeah, read as much as you want into what would happen to facilitate that, but
a lot would happen. A lot would need to happen.
Bottas would have to overtake someone.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
He's practicing for Alfa Romeo for next year.
Hey, there's a pit stop. There's a pit stop going to happen. Right. You'll know if you're watching live. But if you're listening after the fact, we now stream the show live on YouTube. So to be sure to like our Facebook page, follow our Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Formula One Grid Talk. And make sure you ring the bell icon so you're notified of future shows. It's always a bit weird with the YouTube subscription, so make sure you do that. We are now available on Verbal, as well as Amazon Music, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Omni Studio, and Pocket Casts. Just search F1 Grid Talk. Right, we have a large back catalogue of shows, over 160 episodes now, including interviews with Mario Isola. That's from Pirelli. He's the head of motorsport from Pirelli, as well as retrospective pieces on Tiregate Senna. And very recently, we did a farewell piece on Raikkonen. So I checked that out just before it all kicks off tomorrow. Just if you're a bit bored, can't sleep, whack that on and just sort of remember as someone who's still who is a world champion, but maybe has not had the kind of career that you'd expect him to. Bit of a Fernando Alonso in some ways. If you're still stuck for what to do between shows, I'm going to throw it to our panelists. We'll start with you, Olivia. Where can we find your things?
I'm a writer for f1total.ca, a Canada-based website. So we cover all news, anything really. But yeah. f1total.ca.
You, Aaron?
I host the 5 Red Lights podcast, which is found on YouTube and most podcast platforms. So if you're on YouTube, just search the number 5 Red Lights and you can find it there.
And you, Tom?
Yeah, so I'm part of Everything F1. You can find us at everythingf1.com, across all your favorite social media platforms at Join EF1. Also our Facebook page, our Facebook group even, which is the Everything F1 Paddock. We have a Discord server, which is Everything F1. Get a link to from our websites, our YouTube channel, Everything F1, and finally the Everything F1 podcast, which is available on, Apple, Spotify, our websites, all of your favorite podcasting locations.
Excellent. And if I mean, it's probably going to be a bit of a cesspool putting it together, but oh well. If you'd like a lighter look at this basically this finale, I'll be putting together a meme article as I always do. I've got one for almost everyone, but some of the more westerly flyaway races. You can check that out on sportlightpro.com. That's where I just put the 10 best memes together and hope that they're not too controversial. Lastly, just check out our subreddit F1 Grid Talk to give us suggestions for what we can do to improve the show, and perhaps subscribe to our Patreon for mics, lights, and better recording equipment for our presenters. Heading into the winter months, that is definitely needed. This is not the best lighting scenario that I've got. Right, we will be back after the race tomorrow at 4 p.m. UK time to give our analysis and reaction to what promises to be an incredible finale. Fingers crossed it will be. From the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. There we go.
Yeah.
Bit tense, isn't it?
Oh. Yeah. And then some.
Yeah.
It's the build up to the Euros final in July.
Yeah.
A little bit less cocaine this time, you'd hope.
Yeah. Yeah, at least you won't have thousands of people charging in and causing riots.
Yeah, hopefully. We've got a couple of questions. So if you're still watching, I hope you are. We've got I'm a 10 note saying, do you know how many laps the soft and medium tyres can do? I don't know, to be honest. Pirelli haven't released that information. But they're expecting a one stop. They say that that's fastest. But they're over the full race distance, they're also saying that both medium hard and soft to hard are just about as quick. But the interesting thing would obviously be the two stop. The two stop, particularly around here, is a little bit slower apparently, but might play a role if there's a safety car. We've seen that happen a number of times. And to be honest, the track looks better. Looks better for overtaking. I don't know. I feel like it'll be a one stop. It's usually a one stop. That's Formula One for you.
Unless you're Red Bull.
Unless you're Red Bull or Mercedes in Hungary or Spain this year. We've got Connor Walker. Always good to see Connor Walker in there. First good result from Norris. Hope it does well tomorrow. Hope so. Also, Tom's thoughts on Tom's thoughts on your favourite driver, Yuki, actually out qualifying Gasly.
I knew that could come out. Yeah, bravo, Yuki. Brilliant qualifying. Regardless of whether Gasly did or didn't, do as good a job as he should, Yuki still put that car where it was on merit, and he was higher up until he got his lap time deleted. So Yuki has been by far the better driver today for AlphaTauri, and I'm really pleased to see that he has done well.
I guess there's no more questions, but how does everyone feel about this new track layout? Obviously, we've got fairly well acquainted with it over the sort of couple of days.
I think it's good. I really like it. I mean, mentally, like when they're coming down towards the hairpin in the first sector, I keep expecting them to jump on the brakes, and they keep going, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're still going this way. And then the same at the end of the second straight. I'm like, okay, but no, big left-hander, not big braking.
I've been doing it. I've been like, I know it's going to happen if they update the game, but I'm just going to be, I'm going to get up to that hairpin and I'm just going to go and brake. Oh no, wait.
Have they updated the game for it?
They haven't yet.
No,
it's not even confirmed.
And then it doesn't exist. It's not real.
Yeah, here's hoping the EA money will extend to that.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to see the changes in the track layout. I think Abu Dhabi has needed it for a while, and it's nice to see that it's not just sort of like stop turn for a lot of it, and even the final sector, which they try and say is like a street circuit. The bit where it goes into the hotel, they have just widened the radius of that corner ever so slightly, and it has just opened it a bit more. And we saw it catch out Kimi, and it caught out Bottas a bit, and I think it caught out Vettel in one of the practice sessions as well. So all in all, so far, the changes look good. Let's see what it does for the racing.
Yeah, the flow is much better, just like you said. So I am
Yeah.
quite pleased with it as well. Yeah.
It feels more like a racetrack because they're carrying a higher average speed.
Yeah.
So it just feels a bit more racy. And given what I saw of the F2 race while we were on air, it looked like you could go side by side through the long left-hander at the end of at the end of the big straight, turn 9, which, if you can hang in there on the outside, the double right into the braking zone, you could have battles going quite a long way. And then hopefully the car the car that drops behind doesn't lose too much time through the next few corners and can stay close enough to pick up DRS. And you could have these longer battles, and then you might get the strategy thrown at it. I just think it's just such a good improvement. I mean, to be fair, anything was better than what they had before.
Yeah.
The best bit of racing that I remember from the triple chicane was actually the first year they went there. I think it was Webber had old tires and Button was chasing him down, and they were like way off the road at points. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then 2010 happened.
I feel sorry. I just get the feeling that Fernando Alonso is going to end up stuck behind, I don't know, maybe another Russian driver for a good 30 laps.
Yeah, it wouldn't be his first time being stuck behind someone there.
It's probably just like, oh, it's pretty normal, this.
New layout, new problems.
All right, here's a question for you. Last year, what was the more boring race? Spain or Abu Dhabi?
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, at least
Abu
Spain
Dhabi.
had,
It was so pedestrian. It was so boring.
It was, wasn't it? It was just.
at least Spain had the effect, like the potential of being like instrumental to the title.
The one thing I think that kind of killed Abu Dhabi last year was Hamilton actually coming back. All that week I was hoping that he wouldn't come back.
Do you know,
because I wanted George Russell in the car again, and I think that would have changed the race. Russell would have been on the front row, and Russell versus Verstappen, like in a almost a one-off. The gloves
it would have been
off.
good. Yeah,
An exhibition match almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, Hamilton, I get he wants to race, but he'd already sewn up the title, and he was recovering from COVID. And yes, he's obviously a very, very physically fit person. I still think he should have just left it. He didn't need to rush back for anything. He should have just taken the time to make sure that he was sort of recovering from it, making sure that he was able to get his breath back, or the rest of it. Because I remember hearing him talk after the race. He was still, you could hear it in his lungs and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's still been struggling with it this year, isn't he?
Yeah.
He said long COVID,
Yeah, he has like long COVID now.
Yeah, but especially if you think about like the forces that the drivers are under, all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one we hear
in the UAE.
Yeah.
Imagine coming back. You can't imagine most people coming back from having or from having COVID, like not 2 weeks previously, and then
jumping back in an F1 car.
Yeah, jumping back in an F1 car. Like most people are still recovering.
And that
weeks
heat
after
as well. Jesus Christ! No.
Yeah, I guess the air's drier, I guess, which might be helpful.
Yeah.
Actually, no, maybe it's not, because that's like you need it to be a certain amount of humidity to.
That classic British phrase of "the heat is different out here."
It is different.
But it is different.
It is different. It's so humid in the UK.
It's like when you go to certain places in the US, like and it's cold, like, but it's a dry cold. It's not so bad. It doesn't wick the heat so badly.
It's like when
the summers get really humid though.
Yeah.
No.
God, I don't know what's going to happen. I genuinely don't.
I really hope they don't crash into
Neither
each other.
do I.
I don't think they will, and Max will not do it on purpose because it is not worth the risk of getting it to all the rest of it. I would rather Hamilton win than Max win the championship by taking him out. Yeah,
I don't think he will. If that happened, I don't think that. I think the FIA would come down on it so harshly because it would.
The FIA have already said about it.
Yeah, I was going to say they've already put out a statement and reminded everyone of the rules that we can just take away points because at this point I think it would look premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I really don't know how to feel about the whole thing. Like, I don't know who I want to win, and I'd be so happy with any outcome, really. I don't know.
Now, obviously, I'm a Max fan, but I think the Max fan has come from we've had so many years of Lewis winning.
But I've loved that.
Yeah, and it's just like,
I don't want it to stop.
Nice. It's very, very
really,
nice.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it because either way, it's still good racing, and it goes to a driver that deserves to win. But I don't know. I really don't know how I feel.
Oh, they don't. Oh, yeah. No, I think that's a good point you make. Like, they definitely both deserve to win at this point.
Yeah,
Max would deserve it more than Rosberg deserved his.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
I am still incredibly salty about that. No matter how well color coordinated his outfits are on Sky, I just have no time for him. Did you see him today? Like his navy green, navy and green. So the shirt and the trousers were navy, and the green belt and the matching green shoes. It was just like, wow.
He's living that influencer life, man.
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he is.
Do you reckon his AMG Project One or AMG One or whatever that he's got it matches that?
Probably.
It's half and half. It's like the old BAR. It's half and half.
Oh, okay.
Gosh, yeah. Literally with a zip up the middle.
Hey, I thought that was quite a good livery. That
A clever way
After
of
the
getting
fact.
around it.
Yeah.
Wait,
Also, sorry. Go on. No, go
no,
on.
no. I was just going to ask about Extreme E. Is his team going into the final next weekend? I don't know what's going on with that.
I've not paid attention to it, to be honest. I know it's in Dorset, but I like Extreme E, but the problem is I'm just like, but it's like
They've started Extreme E in the year that F1 decides to be really exciting for the first time since like 2008.
2012.
Hamilton wasn't winning. I wasn't interested.
Such a plastic fan.
No, 2012 was pretty bonkers as well, actually. I remember screaming at Button to move over to let Alonso win so he could take the title from Vettel, because I did not want Seb to win that one.
I don't want Seb to win.
I can't remember who I've said it to, but I think Liberty Media and F1 are a bit screwed come after this season, when all the people who have come in to watch this incredible title battle that we've got inevitably realise that Formula One actually gets quite boring. It's once every sort of 5 or 6 years that you get this kind of title.
They really might have to go full Drive to Survive on it and tell like certain drivers to crash into each other.
Yeah, so someone give PK Junior a ring.
Hey,
Yeah.
PK Junior was just driving an F1 about 5-10 years too early.
He'd have been perfect by now.
Yeah, he'd be on the payroll.
Yeah.
he'd be Verstappen's perfect number 2 teammate.
Yeah,
He's right in with the family.
God.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah.
There is a meme out there that's just like, when I told you to drive like a PK, I didn't mean like that.
I've seen that, yeah.
After last week's qualifying, but oh goodness.
I saw him as well, because obviously Danny Kvyat has had a kid with
Kelly
PK. Yeah, and I saw him. He said Verstappen. He's like Verstappen, just like first I stole your job, then I stole your missus or something.
As long as that doesn't continue, because that's a whole different thing.
Oh yeah. Also, I just checked the FIA website. So there are 6 summons at the moment. So
anyone we need to care about?
Probably not. But it's not the top 2, so there's your answer.
Okay, there we go. That's all I care. I'll be honest. I don't want anything to disrupt the battle.
No. Lando's kind of before. Danny Rick's number 3. Yeah. So Ocon has been summoned for impeding Vettel, and then Vettel has been summoned for impeding Ocon in the same corner.
They should just cancel each
How are
other
they going to
out.
work that?
I don't get that.
I'm sorry, they came to Vettel was at a dead stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Vettel's been summoned for impeding Gasly in turn 1. Gasly's been summoned for impeding Vettel in turn 1. And then just for a hat trick, right? Danny Rick has been summoned for impeding Alonso in turn 16. And guess who Alonso has been summoned for impeding in turn 16?
Is it Danny Rick?
Ricciardo.
It might be.
Hey.
Yeah. Also,
Shock.
another thing I noticed, Seb channeling his inner first race. He's been fined not once but twice for speeding in the pit lane.
Oof.
So if you really want to know, I'll read it out. Seb has been the first one in FP2. He was doing 81.5 kilometers an hour, and the speed limit is 80.
I mean,
do you know
by right, he is speeding.
Yeah, trying to know how much Aston Martin got fined.
How much?
50 grand.
€200.
What?
It must be proportional.
Yeah, it must be. And then in the same session, not 15 minutes later, give or take, Seb got penalised for going 81.1 kilometers an hour in the pit lane, and Aston Martin got fined another €200.
So that's just a couple of people don't get upgraded to business class on the flight back, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Or they just do a bit of PR work for Cognizant.
I know a lot about Cognizant. Cognizant is the same company that does.
Cognizant's massive.
Cognizant is the same company that has individual people. There's probably it's fine to say. Has actual people moderating and actually checking all the content that gets reported and flagged on Facebook for questionable content. And there's articles about it online that I'd say you definitely should read. And that's all I'll say about Cognizant.
I didn't know that.
I would take a look. There's one in The Verge. I think. Hold on. I'll find out what you need to search.
Is it The Secret Lives of Facebook Moderators?
Yes, that one. That one I would. That's an interesting read.
Oh, I think I've read that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember reading it at the time because Cognizant quit in
Yeah.
about November 2019.
Yeah. So it was. So yeah. So it was the. I'd like to amend what I said. It was the company that did it.
Yeah.
It still did
Oh,
it.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah. No, it's yeah. That one's really bad. It still is really bad. I imagine it's ongoing with a different company, but the PR was awful. I don't think if there's nothing more.
I think we're all.
I think are we all caught up?
Yeah, and I think we're just sort of like waiting for tomorrow, aren't we?
Yeah. So if you are still here, thank you. But yeah, we. I don't think there's much more to say. I think we're if we round out 4:30. Sorry, that's
Yeah.
That's a good
Enjoy
time.
F1 Christmas, everyone, tomorrow.
yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Oh, God. Right.
Right. Thank you, everyone.